Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So I've got beta 10.10.2 here, and I'm going to be testing it out. We are waiting at a light to get on Atlanta Highway, as you can see up there, I'm sure. Anyway, this is the first version that I've gotten that's an update since 10.9, so it's been a little while since I've had an update. So I'll be very curious to see how this whole thing works. I told my wife I would go pick up some bagels as part of this little foray, because I had no other reason to be going. So anyway, this first part is going to be a relatively straight stretch, but it's on a kind of a, it's just really narrow. So anyway, it's not, it shouldn't be a huge deal for it. And it actually drives on the narrow part of the road better than a lot of human beings do. So that's good. And then once we get downtown, so that'll put us more like downtown, and I'll put in a couple of places to go just to have it drive around downtown. You can see there's very little traffic because it's a Sunday morning, so it's not all that exciting. Just as a quick mention, I had done a video yesterday on Ford CEO Jim Farley, and I'll put a link to it up there. But anyway, as I was doing that video, in the background, the thing that's holding up this camera right here, one of the suction cups, it's just one of the three just has this tendency to dislodge itself. So every couple of days or something like that. I didn't notice. Yes, it wasn't causing any problem. It's not like it's dangerous or anything, but people are happy to call me out in the comments about all of that. So there you go. Anyway, so this part of the trip is, except for a bunch of lights along the way, this part of the trip should be relatively straightforward. I'm not exactly sure why it's deciding it wants to change lanes, but whatever. That's interesting. Oh, now it wants to change again. Oh no, okay. I thought it was going to change and go back and forth. Sometimes it does that. I'm never exactly sure why it's decided it wants to do that. But anyway, this first part of the trip to get to the bagel place is just a straight shot, but you'll see that the road after a while narrows substantially. If nothing interesting happens, I'll probably put this forward at like 8x speed or something like that, just so you don't have to watch the boring stuff. But I will not cut any of this just to make sure that nobody's accusing me of cherry picking. The part that I expect to be a problematic area will be when we get to the actual bagel place. It is a really, I don't know, it's a weird parking lot, and it's very complicated to get in and out. On a Sunday morning, it may not be that bad. But anyway, so that I expect will be the first time, unless something weird happens here, it'll be the first time that I'll have to potentially disengage, just because it gets confused more than anything else. It's a strange parking lot, and especially because if it doesn't go in the proper entrance, and we'll have to see which one, you can't get into the parking lot because it's a one-way only, and so it is possible that it might think that the way in is the wrong direction, so I'd have to disengage then. So just giving fair warning that that's not a danger thing, it's just more of a convenience thing, because I don't want to go past it and have to go driving around and try to figure out how to get back into the parking lot again. So anyway, I have a problem. It's not so much getting into the parking lot as getting out, so that'll be interesting, because you have to make this sort of catty corner turn into a road, so you're across both lanes of the road and then turn out onto the main road. And again, on a Sunday morning when it's not that crowded, it probably won't be that bad, but if it's a crowded day, it could be really bad getting out of there, because people are trying to get into that side street and out of the side street, and you're blocking off both lanes. It's kind of a mess. So anyway, but that's the kind of stuff that reality, that's what real life deals with. So I guess eventually the car's got to have to deal with that, but for now, I am not going to force it to have to. Parking lots, I feel like, are one of those issues that are particularly complex, and at least until we get to version 11, which is going to be the single stack, that should have everything on one stack, and hopefully it'll be able to handle parking lots better than the current version. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Again, pretty, I usually accelerate much more rapidly, which is why I say this car is actually safer than I am driving, because it accelerates much more slowly. I'm usually right up there to full speed immediately, and this thing's just being nice and chill about it. Again, here I would be in the right lane. I would have moved myself over. Also, just FYI for those who, I don't know, if you're just watching this for the first time or something, I am legally in charge of this car. I have my left hand, which I don't think you can see in the view I have, is on the steering wheel pretty much constantly. Sometimes I switch and use my right hand instead, but you'll see once in a while it'll say like move the steering wheel slightly or something like that. And of course I try to put just a little bit of pressure on it with my left hand. Here's what I was talking about, this lane. And so it ended up in the correct place. But anyway, if I don't wiggle the steering wheel or put a little pressure on it every 20 or 30 seconds or so, it reminds me of that. So again, I'm monitoring the car. The car is completely driving itself. I'm not using the accelerator. I'm not turning anything, but I'm completely in charge of it too. I can always take it out instantly if I just either press the brake or turn the steering wheel more heavily than just a little bit. It'll pop out of full self-driving mode. So anyway, in case anybody was wanting to know exactly how the parameters of this work, now the car needs to get, it's only 0.3 miles till this turn in, and the car needs to get in the right lane. This is one of the complaints that I have about the full self-driving, is that the navigation, it doesn't think ahead quite far enough, right? So here, again, because it's a Sunday, maybe it won't be a problem, but it really should be into the right lane by now. It's a complicated series of turns here, and well, not series, it's complicated one turn, but it needs to be in the right lane and needs to be set up for that, because now it's going to have itself in a bit of a bind trying to get over there. Because probably what it's going to do is turn the turn signal on right now, and then this BMW that's behind us is going to get pissed. So it's going to go right past the bagel place. Oh, nope, there it goes. It's trying to get in last second. Woo. All right, sorry, BMW dude. All right. Jeez, okay. Yeah, I had to disengage. That was mostly because the guy was just about to flip me off. He was pissed about that. Okay, so like I said, this is whatever it is. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick break here, and I will be back, and we'll drive through town, and that should be more interesting than this stuff so far. But yeah, that was the one thing, like if it had planned ahead, so that's what I was talking about. If it had planned ahead by 30 seconds or whatever and had gotten into the right lane before we got to the light, then it wouldn't have had to been so rude to that BMW. Because basically what it did was it cut it off and then immediately tried to brake and turn in. So I was getting this kind of thing from the person behind me. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna go get some bagels, put on my mask. I will be back. All right, wow. That took like 25 minutes, I think. It was a mess. There was a huge line in there. It's a very popular place. Okay, I'm gonna make this thing try to do this. Oh, we're gonna see how this goes. I've never tried it before. It's actually empty. Okay, it seems to be doing it. Okay, I'm gonna tap the accelerator. Oh, I think it might curb itself. Oh, that was close to the wall. Okay. All right, it did it. That was, like I said, that's one of the craziest exits because you have to go across two lanes. So it was not comfortable. I did have to tap the accelerator a little bit, but that was something that I have actually never attempted to do before with this car. So you can see I gave it some stops, so it's going to have to kind of while its way around here in town. So anyway, and then I can always add another one or two to it anyway. So let's see. All right, it's making a left. It depends on when it gets up here as to whether it'll get a protected or an unprotected left, because if it doesn't detect a car fast enough, so I don't know, it should be kind of right in between. There's a possibility this might be an unprotected left. Oh, it got a protected left, so that made life easier. By the by, Ideal Bagels, 6 everything bagels and cream cheese, so I'm happy. When I get home, I'm gonna have a nice little breakfast. All right, so let's knock this down just a little bit. Yeah, so anyway, we got some rights. Hopefully we got some lefts in here. Geez, I tried to make it do some lefts. If not, it's like really hard because I was trying to make it do all these multi-point things, and I was like, geez, I couldn't think. It's amazing because I drive around here all the time and I can never think about a place to go. I'm like, where should I go? Yeah, so it's actually cleverly decided to do everything in right-hand turns instead of left. So this is interesting because it's got to deal with this bike lane that was not perfect because it actually should have crossed the bike lane, but again, it's okay because it did have its turn signal on. So all right, and that takes us to trapeze more or less. So I don't know how to force it to go to the next thing. Oh, I don't know what it's going to do now. Let's just wait and see. All right, this is interesting because it's got all sorts of weird funky stuff. All right, what are you going to do? Oh, we're done. Okay, So now, okay, I'm sorry. I got a autopilot navigation is complete. I don't know how to tell it to. Okay, there we go. All right. Sorry. So it actually had just done exactly what it was supposed to do. It got me to the place. I just didn't know how to disengage it. So I'm going to see now how it's going to go ahead and get to the Grit, which is the next place. Classic Athens restaurant. It's Michael Stipe is one of the investors. I don't know that he's officially an owner, but Michael Stipe from REM, for those who are young and don't know, very famous. Athens is very famous for having REM, B-52s, other 80s bands. So I don't know exactly where we are on this list. It's kind of weird because, all right, yeah, I don't know, because it looks like it's, maybe I need to tell it, oh, continue trip. Oh, that's the problem. I didn't tell it to continue, so I don't know what it's going to do now. It's going to turn, no, it's not. I don't know what it's going to do. All right, well, this is interesting. All right. That was my fault. So actually this is good though, because it's going to have to make a couple of unprotected lefts up here. So it'll be a good chance for it to get a case. Ooh, all right. It's actually driving this. Let me knock down the max speed a little bit. It's actually driving this pretty well. It's giving these guys over here. So this again, overfit to San Francisco. It loves to drive, well, loves. It handles driving with a lot of traffic stopped on the right-hand side really well. So clearly it did that really well, like surprisingly well. A lot of human drivers don't do that well on that particular stretch of road. So I'm actually glad that I made a mistake and didn't tell it to continue the trip. So, all right, and now that's a little jerky. This is so at least I forced it to make 3 unprotected left turns. So there we go. That's what happens when I make a mistake. So you can see it's pathing itself around these cars. It's dealing with these hills. These little lumpy hills are crazy because you can't see over the top of them. So this is well, I guess it's not a really unprotected left since there's a stop sign every direction. I don't know if I've ever been on this street before. It's like little back roads in Athens. I'm curious. It's figuring it out. Again, it's a Sunday morning. There's no traffic, so I don't really have to worry about being rude to anybody else. But yeah, if there was a whole bunch of people following me, I probably would feel a little bit obliged to not let it do so much wiggling around. But it's getting there. And it's actually, yes, I mean, it sees the cars up here. It's going around them well. Again, I did that video where I talked about the CNBC thing. This will be interesting because this is an actual unprotected left onto a 4-lane road with no suicide lane in the middle either. So it'll be interesting. I've got all day, so I can just let it sit and figure it out. Hopefully it won't go now because there's people coming from the right. So, okay, there's a brake on the right and the left, so we should be able to, it should go now. It's being very hesitant. Come on, baby. You can do this. Autopilot creeping forward. I'm just going to let it play out. Nobody's around. Nobody's coming. This is taking a very long time. Oh, and it, like right when this guy decided to come out, it's like, oh, I'm going to go now. All right, and the Grit is right here. They got Sunday brunch. Wow. Okay, now I need to cancel this and keep going because otherwise that person... Okay. Sorry. Sorry, there was a person behind me, so okay. Let's see. I think it's trying to reroute itself back there again. I haven't figured out the way to make these multi-point trips like automatically. Yeah, because it's trying to get back where it was, so actually might as well just let it ride. I haven't figured out how to force the next stage of the multi-point trip. I think it assumes that you're going to stop and get out of the car, and that's the problem, is it just sort of it won't, there's like not a button to say like continue. I guess because this is not really the use case they're thinking about. That was not really the point of these multi-point trips, was to be able to force the autopilot. Okay, this guy's walking out in the middle of the road, so cool. Good. It handled that very, very well. Makes me nervous when I see pedestrians out here. So this will be interesting too, because if it actually attempts to make a left-hand turn from, this is like a super sharp left-hand turn if it does this. Okay, so it should go here. Right, okay, good. It actually handled that road used to be open there, so it's good to know. Yeah, this is actually not a 90, but more like a 120 turn, something like that. This is extremely complicated. I would never make this turn. Oh, that was interesting. It bailed. All right, I'm going to cancel and just give it someplace else to go. Let's see. Where can I go here that will force some interesting turns? Let's try the last resort. Okay. Hopefully they'll give us navigate. No, it's not that interesting. Okay. Well, that was aggressive of that guy to go through. The light was clearly in my favor. All right. Yeah, at least we got one more turn up here. Nice little unprotected left. So I'm just taking you to all the quality restaurants in town here. Last Resort, excellent restaurant for a nice celebration or something. Doing a little Athens advertising here. Mostly because that's the places I can remember where they are. So anyway, it's right up here, but okay, good. Not really an unprotected left since it's a one-way road, but again, it's handling these one-way roads quite well. Last Resort is up here on the left, so I think it'll probably just stop. Yep, okay. And nobody's behind me, so I'm fine, so, okay. Well, that was interesting. So I don't know what that was planning on doing, so let me see if I can find one more interesting thing that will force, let's go to the U.S. Post Office. Why not? Okay, still nobody. I like doing this on Sunday mornings when I'm very, it's very easy going when I don't have people like riding my rear end getting upset. This is interesting because it should be in the left lane. Yeah, it didn't really get into the correct lane, but it is making the turn and it's avoiding the human beings, the pedestrians that are walking there, so that's good. Woo, a little on the jerky side. All right, and yep, okay, good. It's also obeying, like, I mean, obviously it should do that, but it is obeying the, wow, this car's really in this lane. Oh, wow, okay, yeah. That truck was not parked well at all. So, all right. Now there's police cars behind me, so I'm just gonna get out of the way for a second. I think that actually is pretty decent. So let's go ahead and think about Publix. Atlanta Highway. Should take us back close to home. Yeah, it's kind of a straight road, but all right, as soon as this car passes. All right, let's put it in. Unfortunately, like, everything going to my house is always like a straight line or on the highway, and I was trying to avoid the highway. Ooh, okay. I don't know why it jerked quite that violently out of the way, but it did. So it's also obeying, I don't know if you could see that, but where the bike area is, they have these areas where you're not, you can probably see it over there too, but they have areas where the bikes are allowed to stop, but the people are not, so that they don't end up getting all snarled up together. So anyway, it's obeying that. It's definitely stopping behind the rear of those two lines, so that's good. And this guy up here in the front is not, and I don't know why he wasn't just going. See, human beings, they're crazy. You can perfectly well turn right on red, so no big deal. So, and it's avoiding the pedestrian here, so good. Yeah, at least I managed to get quite a few left turns in here without turn arrows, so that's nice. Oh, there's some daffodils over there. I knew we'd find some eventually, even though we're kind of driving around the more city areas, but yeah, so probably once we get back on the main road, I kind of can't stop because I can't reach back there and turn off the video. I should actually get that. I think I can do that on my watch. I keep forgetting that I can actually like cause the start and stop the video on my watch. But anyway, I'll get that for next time. But anyway, I might just let it keep rolling, but here we go. Unprotected left, but those guys are both turning left. I think it's being cautious and waiting. That guy did not have his turn signal on, but he was in the left-hand turn lane, so good. All right, and then we should have one more left-hand turn. Up here on Meg Street. So I think this is the exact, yeah, that was where the grid was. So this is going to be the inverse of what I did, or what I tried to do, and tried to make that like 120-degree turn and sort of failed. But I don't know why I turned a turn signal on for just a second there, but Okay, that was not good. That was an interesting move. I mean, it was, I guess, as I would have done that as a human being, but that was probably not a very legal move, but at least it was safe. So yeah, that's interesting. It managed to make that turn. It did really well that direction because that's a very soft left, but got that. And then off we go. Let's make the left. There is a homeless problem in Athens, even though it's a small city. Because I'm trying to test this stuff out, I'm not really stopping, but I often will try to, give people a little bit or something if I have some cash on hand. So it's difficult, especially in the wintertime, to see that. This is an unprotected pass through this stop sign, by the way, because it probably should have done that faster. That was very, like I said, it feels a lot of times like it's apologetic, and you want it, once it commits to going through something like that, it needs to commit and go quickly. So this is kind of messy here. They're doing some sort of construction. Okay. Ugh, mess. Oh, no. Okay. That was a definite disengagement. I don't know if it was going to hit that pothole, but it was really close, and I did not want to damage the bottom of the car. So it was one of those things where it might have made it around there, but I was not going to be the guy who tried it out. So yeah, we'll count that as a definite disengagement there, just for safety, for my own car, not for anybody else. So there you go. Anyway, I should probably, let's go ahead and flag that for the Tesla team, because it needs to be able to take account of stuff like that. And you can see we're passing Ideal Bagel again, so there we go. On our way back. So the rest of this should be relatively boring. It's like a straight line. Again, the road through this section right here, the part that we just turned on and all the way up here, is very, very narrow. But because the traffic is really light, it's not such a big deal right now. So anyway, let me go ahead and give my thoughts about 10.10.2 versus 10.9. Oh gosh, it's a little hard to judge. It feels like the improvements are there, but it's a subtle improvement. How's that? I'm not like blown away by this version going like, wow, it is so much different than the last version and so much better. I think that it seems to be operating better. Again, this, oh gosh. It's really close to that guy on the left. Uncomfortably so. Yeah, like I said, this part of the road is ridiculously narrow. And it's doing okay, but it's like, wow. Part of the problem is that the people in the left lane don't want to like get too close over the double yellow to hit the people going the other direction, so they tend to narrow up this part of the road anyway, so it just gets really, really narrow between the two. And the Tesla, you can see that the left side view mirror is actually hugging the dashed white line, and it actually should probably be over just a hair to the right. It's a very, very awkward stretch of road. I hate driving that as a person, and honestly, under normal circumstances, I try to avoid that road as much as possible. That section, like here, it's fine. Once we get to this section, it's nice and wide open, no big deal. But I attempt as much as possible to avoid that section of road all the time because it just scares the heck out of me. Anyway, scary. So car, it feels very in control for the most part. Again, as opposed to a human being, it is willing to get really, really close to other cars as it passes them as you go around. Part of that is that I've gotten used to it, but also part of it is that, again, it feels like maybe here it's a little bit more middle, but it feels like it's left. It's always kind of left justified. It's always a little bit more to the left. And there's a lot of conditions where it should just try to be dead center as much as possible. So I don't know. With a road, with a lane as big as these lanes are, no big deal. But it just does feel like, you can see that the Saturn in front of me is slightly offset to the right, and that's where I would be if I was a human driving. Again, there's totally room on the left between where the side view mirror is and where the dash lines are. I can look right now and see it, but there's more room to the right. So I would, again, try to be just a hair more to the right under normal circumstances. So anyway, that's just a preference thing. It's not a safety issue. It's just one of those comfort things. And so it's something that Tesla should probably take account of, just because they should be taking account of comfort for the human passengers. But maybe, again, it's just me personally. It could be my own like weirdnesses that I tend to like to drive slightly to the right of most lanes. I don't know. But then when I get on side streets, like back streets, I tend to drive dead center in the back streets, the places where there aren't lane markings, unless there's cars coming the other direction, because it's just safer. You have more reaction time in case a dog or a kid or a person, something like that, comes walking out from behind something as you're driving through a neighborhood. So, you know, it's different, and that's why it's complicated doing this kind of stuff. It's not easy for them to figure out the correct way to drive, because there frankly isn't really a correct way to drive. There's a correct way to drive given the region, given the country, given the general mores. Even the fact of like driving this much over the speed limit is just, you can see them being passed by people, right? So there's parts of the country, and definitely parts of the world, where this would be absolutely verboten. Germany, speaking of you. But here in Georgia, it's kind of expected, and it would be an incorrect behavior to not go faster than the speed limit under most circumstances, because that's just an expectation, and people get upset, and it causes traffic problems if you don't go with the flow of traffic. So it's one of those things. So anyway, as far as this is concerned, I really, as I expected, I'm just looking at the release notes when we got 10.10 and 10.10.1 and 10.10.2, I thought that primarily this was released to get rid of the, okay, just waiting to make sure, yeah, okay, it's a weird little split. It didn't use its turn signal, but I guess it doesn't really have to. Anyway, the primary rationale for the release of 10.10.x was the fact that NHTSA and TSLA forced a recall of Tesla vehicles to get rid of the rolling stop sign behavior. And so definitely I've been at several stop signs so far today, and I have not seen any rolling stop sign behavior. But with 10.8, 10.9, whatever, I also did not see any rolling stop sign behavior. So I think it was localized probably mostly in California. I don't think that I saw it very much at all in Athens. Likely because regionally it, I guess, was, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe it just did it blanket, but I certainly didn't notice it rolling any stop signs before. So anyway, I think it was a very subtle upgrade. It does feel confident. It certainly has not gone backwards at all. It's definitely just as good as 10.9, and I think it's slightly more confident, but I'm going to have to wait until I try it out in some heavier traffic. So anyway, there's a pretty extensive review. I know there wasn't a ton of traffic in town, but there was a lot of pedestrians and there was a lot of goofy stuff. So I think that, you know, hopefully it was a valuable test. And there we go. Oh, we're almost in Publix. I forgot. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and give me some feedback in the comments if you have any specific things that you would like to see me test, like specific areas or specific problems, or go back to specific areas that I was driving through during more heavy traffic conditions, and I'll be happy to do that. In the meantime, everybody have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and check out the daffodils, but while I say goodbye. All right. Welcome to springtime in the South, at least. All righty. Bye-bye.